Are we live? We're live! What's happening, everybody? If everybody's having a fantastic start to your week coming up on Christmas real soon. So, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in the middle of this. One of the things that has been popping up quite a bit just in my general travels, going to different dealerships, talking to folks about direct connection, what's going to be on the menu list, what can we expect, etc. Along with a lot of the, hey, Mark's in first. What's up, Mark? As well as some of the messages that you guys have sent me. Couple that with just the general idea that I've been talking to folks, just friends of mine, things like that. I am astonished as to the number of people that are not familiar with direct connection in general. These are guys that are Mopar guys. These are guys that are hot rodders. Lots of Gen 3 guys have no idea the relevance and the significance and the meaning and why so many of us guys that have been in and around this stuff and grew up with hot rodding these cars, why this is such a big deal. Why is it that I've got this old, fender pad over here with direct connection? What does that even mean? So what I wanted to do is talk to you guys and explain to you why direct connection coming back is such a big thing. Why it means something and why it means something to the brand and why you as a Mopar flag waver need to be excited about this. Or at least should be excited about this. So I'm going to catch up with you guys real quick and then I'm going to jump clean into it. Chase is in saying, hey, Mr. B, Michael Corleone. Old schooler, got the arm flexing like it. Yeah. Chase is saying, hey, I'm rebuilding my truck tomorrow, but I'm not feeling well. Get to feeling better, brother. Chicken soup and OJ. Hot chicken soup, cold OJ. Don't get those backwards. It's gross. Owen saying, second here. Good evening, Dr. Mopar. What's up, Owen? Erickson saying, good evening, Professor B. Got the flexing on. I like it. Got them Mo muscles. Shiv saying, what up, Mr. R&D? What's up? I like it. Haven't had a chance to do a lot of product testing lately, but guys, I'm just going to take this as a quick aside. The JLT cold air kit is now on the absolute top of my list of all-time favorite things that I've done to that car. Tune, yeah, I can tune them. The gear's cool too, but dude, I got to wick that thing up going through one of these long kind of underpasses, not overpass, but true dip down underpasses. Oh my God, the way that thing sounds is just so awesome. Anyway, Chase saying, okay, Mr. B, I'll do that. Got to. So the trick, chicken and rice, hot, dark meat. Don't mess with the white meat. We're going to go old school. Dark meat, okra, got to throw the okra in there. And if you can find them, navy beans, but lima beans will do just fine. Boil it up, breathe that in. Ice cold orange juice, preferably with crushed ice. Works every time. White Knuckle saying, what up, bro? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, White Knuckle. All right, guys, so direct connection. I'm going to take you on a ride in the Wayback Machine. Back in the day, you had Ford racing performance parts, big time into everything that was Ford, as you would imagine, the same way that they are today. And Mopar got in on the performance end the same way that Ford did with their direct connection. Right there. Direct connection was your direct connection to the manufacturer and all of their R&D and all of the guys that were hot rodding in the name of Mopar, especially all the tricks and tips and everything else that they learned throughout all the heyday of super stock racing. It's kind of how some of this came to go. And what you would find in these performance catalogs, again, I'll reference the Ford Racing Performance Parts catalogs because I know a lot of you guys are going to be familiar with that with your time with Mustangs and stuff like that, even from up to this day, but back in the day as well. In the same way that the Ford catalogs would have tips and tricks and timing and how-tos in the catalog itself, so was Direct Connection. Direct Connection, when you walked into a Direct Connection affiliate, when you're talking to one of the parts guys, you are talking to a guy that more than likely you knew because you were not a first-time customer. You were somebody that was already into hot rodding. You knew Frank across the counter because you talked to him at the drag strip, because Frank has got that Duster that runs mid-11s, smokes everybody, and he's got the tips and the tricks, and he's getting everything at the dealership. You want your car to be like his, y'all are talking back and forth, and you're building your car as your budget allows. These were guys that were active racers. They had been active racers for a long time, and a lot of times that Frank that I'm talking to, he's in his mid to late 60s sometimes. These are old schoolers that were working behind the counter, bringing up the younger guys, teaching them best practices on tune-ups for your W2 headed 360 that you've got in your Dart. They're helping you along the way in terms of proper camshaft selection for your 440 or your 426. This is back in the day when you would go to your Dodge dealership and have the guy across the counter educate you as to why is it that we're running 35 degrees of timing instead of 38. What is the fuel quality like? What are you seeing out there? What are you running in terms of timing if you're running basic over-the-counter race gas, basically 104 octane, 110 octane? What about avgas? These are the guys that you would ask those questions to. What about the parts themselves? These guys were using those parts. What are the interchangeabilities? I need a shackle relocation kit from my Dart. Got one right behind the counter. I knew you were going to do that because I saw you at the track. You need wider tires on that. Here you go. That's how this stuff used to work. It was basically like going to the Dodge dealership and finding me standing behind the counter going, hey man, listen, saw you at the track the other night. I got to talk to you about your tune-up, man. I'm telling you, you left the line, tons of black smoke, cars running crazy rich. What is going on with your setup? We got to talk about that. I got to school you on tune-up. All of that is stuff that you would have the guy across the counter talking to you about. And they took the time to teach you this stuff. This is back when brand racing was a big deal. It's not so much that you had a 340 or a 350 or a 396 or a 429. It was brand racing. So Ford Racing Performance Parts encompassed everything under the umbrella of Ford. That's one of the reasons why when you're working with the Ford guys, they're always so crazy super inclusive. They were brought up in brand racing. Think NASCAR, super stock racing, all that kind of stuff. Dodge basically was doing the same thing. 440 guys, 340 guys, 360 guys, 383 guys. Everybody's working together on this deal. But the main thing was the education, the background knowledge that would come with that. That's where Direct Connection was so important. In those catalogs, you would have how-tos, how to set up the timing, what intake manifold works, how all of these things work together. Having that knowledge and having a direct connection to a guy behind the counter that's helping you along through the process was one of the biggest drivers for performance parts. You got to remember, this is at a time when about the only place that was selling performance parts would have been Edelrock. Think about that for a minute. The selection was really small, especially for the Mopar stuff. Where you got your heads, where you got your knowledge, where you got all of your information, all of that came from Direct Connection. And during the street racing heydays of the, really through the 70s and 80s, pro stock stuff, kind of into the early 90s in a way, but through that period of time, where guys would go early on was all through Direct Connection. So the reason why it's a little bit disheartening is that history seems to have been lost. The Direct Connection, that true brotherhood that you would see with Dodge supporting those that were supporting them, that a lot of that got lost. And one of the issues that comes with that is, well, now it's nobody really even knows about it. And Dodge is marketing these cars with so much rock and roll music, tire smoke, legend, busting out the name Hemi. You've got all of the styling of the Challenger. All of that is basically, it's a retro themed design package. It's a retro themed lifestyle package, basically. So it kills me when I walk into a Dodge dealership and there's no reception or understanding of what I'm talking about when I say, hey, what's the latest with the direct connection package? And the response is, what do you mean? Do you have a part number? What's direct connection? These are people that work at the dealership. So it's one thing when I walk into a dealership or something like that and I may know a lot more about Hellcats than that guy does, or I may know a lot more about 392 stuff just in general. But this is a huge thing for me, and it's a huge thing for a lot of Mopar fans. The reintroduction of direct connection is the re-involvement of Dodge with their products for the purposes of their marketing, or for the purposes of the car per their marketing, what that marketing would suggest. The drag strip, king of the drag strip, having the ability to have the drive shaft and the axles out of a Red Eye or a Demon, or the tuning aspect of it for what is right now only the Red Eye, but potentially the Hellcat, the 392, and everything else that comes along with it. For there to be no excitement means that there's no drive or no push. And I can't have that reality rattling around in my head. It just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me how we can be on the cusp. We've been told we're going to have all the direct connection power brokers released. That was all supposed to be a thing. But it hasn't become a thing yet. And for a lot of us that are really excited, that want to jump on board, that want to try to support Dodge in a way that I mean, very few folks could argue would be half-hearted. Maybe I'm being a little bit antsy. Maybe I'm being a little bit impatient. You know, little kid at Christmas. I mean, let's face it, it is Christmas this week. I kind of want to know about my new toy, which would be direct connection. I feel like I'm going to wake up one morning and my inbox is going to explode with all this awesome direct connection stuff, and this is the menu list, and this is what we're going to be doing. But what I'm fearing that it may just be direct connection in name only. That the drive from Dodge is not actually going to be for what those old schoolers maybe understand direct connection to be. I mean, I know what the website says. Trust me, I get it. It's the education thing and the hotline and everything else. Have you talked to anybody about performance at all at a Dodge dealership? Would you now talk to anybody at Dodge about performance stuff for your car? I mean, that's really not the first place you think of, but with direct connection, it would be. But if this is the level of excitement that I am to expect from, and I'm not talking about one Dodge dealership either. I'm not even talking about just two Dodge dealerships. Not going to use any names here, but believe me when I tell you, it's scary. And I'm hoping that we're going to have some kind of a rollout. Yes, we're going to have this going on. This is what these guys are going to be trained doing. Show the guys in the classroom getting all schooled up. These are your parts interchangeabilities. this is what we're going to do for the NA guys. This is what we're going to do for the forced induction guys. This is going to be sweet as hell. We're going to have events. We're going to have all this other stuff to really bring everybody together, to really bring all factions together on this. This would be a huge event if this guy were planning it. I would be coming apart at the seams getting ready for something like this, spontaneously combusting at every moment that I had to get this thing put together. But when you talk to somebody and you say, man, I'm really excited about this new direct connection program, and they're going, what do you mean? I thought for a minute I was getting trolled. I thought for a minute, honest to God, I thought for a minute it was a play. Like, oh man, this dude's asking questions. We're a little bit early. Let's just kind of mess with him, be a little bit coy. What do you mean, direct connection? No, it was legit. They didn't know. What the? You gotta be kidding me. Gotta tell you, if I found out that I was going to be a direct connection dealer, I would be screaming from the rooftops about this. It, to me, is a huge deal. Maybe I'm making a much bigger deal out of it than I should. Maybe, it's Christmas. Christmas time, you get a little bit nostalgic. You get a little bit, everything's got a little bit of a fog around it. Everything's got a little bit of a misty glow. You kind of fall in love with old ideas. Maybe that's what I've done with this. Maybe I'm a little bit too exuberant about this. Maybe I'm a little bit too excited, worked up. Maybe I'm a little bit too optimistic about where this is going. But it's such a great opportunity, and think of everything that you could tie in with this. I mean, the NA guys, you could have track events, you could have meets, you could have show and shines, and you could have all this stuff. You could bring all aspects together. The guys that like to profile and have all the lights and stuff, you can do that. You can do all this really cool stuff, and it would be under the banner of direct connection. With the direct connection, total loop, brotherhood, muscle, tie everything together. It all markets itself. It's an absolute slam dunk, home run, touchdown goal. And I just don't get it. So anyway, for those of you guys that aren't aware, again, of what direct connection is, somebody's going to go have some fun. For those of you guys that don't know what direct connection is, again, it is the old school performance wing of Dodge, of Plymouth, of Chrysler, Mopar performance parts. And basically, you had your best techs that would work on these cars. You had your best service writers that raced, that would be able to walk you through the process and explain to you not only what parts you need to get, but what to expect. It was the guys that would teach you best practices in terms of tune-up, best way to get the car set up to do whatever it was that you were doing with it. Street machines, street freaks, drag race guys, all languages, by the way, of which were spoken at Direct Connection. These were the most enthusiastic of Dodge brand loyalists. And when they were behind the counter, you knew that you had a wealth of knowledge that was coming to you from guys that had been trained and had experience with all different types of racing. The information that they had was coming to them from racing teams of all different types and guys that raced in all different venues. SCCA open or SCCA closed course, open track type events, drag racing, again, street racing. All of that stuff was funneled to the consumer through Direct Connection. In the Direct Connection catalog, you had specifics on heads, head flow. You had valve spring values, cam values. You would have tips and tricks on installation. All of that you would find in your direct connection catalog. And I'm just not feeling like there's enough of a push, like there's enough excitement, that there's enough drive. You know, we've talked about the 25.8 promotion. By the way, don't forget about your 25.8 entries. Go to Dodge.com, it'll get you where you need to be. But in this case, 25.8 needs to be driven through direct connection. This is the opportunity for Dodge to put their money where their mouth is. If you're an NA guy, man, have we got the combination for you. Listen, we're going to reflash your computer. We're also going to re-gear the car. We're also going to make sure that you've got access to whatever parts that you need to make sure this thing's going to go. Yes, Hellcat cold air kit. We got them in stock, ready to go. Get that thing in your car. Put that Hellcat filter in there. Come on, let's make this happen. Get that thing reflashed and get your ass to the drag strip tonight. It's Friday. Let's go fast. Let's go do some fun stuff. That's the kind of stuff that you would see. And the reason why I know this is because, in a way, I kind of lived through it when I was a little kid. But when direct connection went away, what you have to understand is Ford Racing Performance Parts took that over. And we had one of the biggest Ford Racing dealers here in Houston, Tommy Vaughn Ford. And they kept that spirit alive. Some of those guys that worked there were old school direct connection guys. And so you could even talk to them about your Mopar, and they would tell you, get these things, this is how it works, get your catalog, go over that, make sure you look at the tuning parameters, know what you're talking about, get that thing to the drag strip, and let's go make some people cry. That's the kind of conversations that we had. In fact, Foxy was basically built out of parts that we got from Tommy Vaughn Ford. AFR heads, GT40 intake. It's a good looking intake and it works great under $5,000. 351 block, the whole bit, all of that stuff came from there. So what I want to do is just kind of illustrate for you guys the passion that was behind direct connection, the excitement that you got, like especially when I was, really young. It's like, man, we're going to go learn something today. You want to talk about learning math. The whole reason why I started getting good at math wasn't to make good grades. It was so that I could understand all the numbers that I was looking at in these catalogs. That's where I got my push and my drive to really dive into camshaft theory. It's what drove me to read books about the aviation engines from back in the day when high performance meant the difference between life and death. That's what got me into all of that, was those books and those catalogs. So, to say that the passion needs to be there. Man, that passion is what drove so many guys to keep coming back to the brand. So anyway, hopefully that gets you a little bit more caught up as far as what direct connection is, but hopefully it gives you a better understanding of what a lot of folks see direct connection as and what the hopes are for direct connection as well, especially for weirdos like me that are really into this stuff and want to see Dodge do really well, especially into the future. So we're going to be marketed to these cars can be marketed like this. We need to have that support. And it doesn't have to just end with the NA guys. It can go into the EVs too. There's going to be hot rod stuff that you can do with EVs. Cool. That'll be direct connection E. Direct connection, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter, but it's all going to be under the same umbrella. And that's the cool thing. What the cool thing about direct connection is it brought everybody in the fold. You might be a small block guy, might be a duster guy, might be an E-body guy, might be a B-body guy. Could be totally into wedges and hate Hemis, could be totally into Hemis and hate small blocks. It didn't matter. Everybody was under the same umbrella and it tied everybody together. And people would meet, congregate, hang out at the parts department. They're buying stuff. Friendships were forged there. You'd go to the drag strip or go to your street spot. You had your buddy with the B body. You had your E body. Somebody else might have had a C body with a stroker big block. It didn't matter. everybody was out there, everybody was under the same umbrella having fun. Same thing can happen in this case too with the E guys, the gas guys. It doesn't matter. You're all going to be under the same umbrella, and I'm hoping that that's what happens with this. Again, I see really cool things with this. I've got the passion for it. Thing is, I hope the people that are paid to have the passion for it have the passion for it too. Hey, Riff, thank you very much, buddy. Saying, I really hope they do more of this direct connection than just announce it. So far, we have not got much information past that. Cheers on that. Really haven't. And, you know, we were told, I don't know if this was official, we were supposed to hear on the 15th who all the power brokers were going to be. Well, it's not the 15th anymore. It's kind of a little bit past that. So, Chuck, thank you very much. No kid. So you're saying when us muscle car shoppers are dropping 50 to 100 large at the dealership, we shouldn't have to do our own research. But we have to for accurate info. Very true. And, you know, I'll tell you something. What's weird, and Chuck kind of touches on a point here. Where direct connection came in play really was if you needed a source for information, where would you rather go? Would you rather go to the aftermarket, or would you rather go to the place that made your car? You start to wonder with the aftermarket, you know, how much research and development do they have in this? How much skin in the game do they really have? But with direct connection, I mean, you're talking to somebody right across the counter that has direct race experience, direct tuning experience, direct engine building experience, direct package building experience. All of that means a lot more. And that's not to say you wouldn't find that with the aftermarket, but with the aftermarket, one guy is doing 5 different jobs. I know this. I lived it. But with the direct connection, the whole job of that guy standing behind the counter is to help you have more fun with that brand's product. It's kind of a swass-ass gig if you think about it, because you get to educate people. And that's one of the more important parts about direct connection. It's something that I have a lot of attraction to for these types of programs, because guys, I'm more into trying to educate and bring information to you guys. It's not really about me, it's about you guys and having you guys have a product at the end of your journey that makes you happy. That's what direct connection kind of used to do. That's what the old Tommy Vaughn guys used to do. And so with the education and with the understanding that comes with experience about how to make the cars faster, what works, what doesn't work, stick to the recipe, and putting together combinations that are fun to drive fast, reliable, streetable, drivable, that just are flat out fun packages. That's what was all about. And yeah, you want to be able to win the race, but if the race isn't always a drag race. The race is sometimes just going out and having fun. Will it light the tires up partial throttle? Yeah, it will. That's the fun part about talking to these guys and having combinations that are not going to leave you stranded. And having the expertise and the knowledge behind all of that from guys that go, listen, take it from me, don't try to do whatever it is that you're trying to do that you're talking to the guy about. Listen, I tried it, scattered the block. Not necessarily a good thing, had a bad day, take my advice, don't go down that path. Having those conversations and bringing somebody into the fold through actual firsthand experience and knowledge is where direct connection can have the greatest positive impact. But again, maybe this is just a pipe dream on my end. Maybe I'm looking too deep into this, or maybe, dare I say, wishful thinking. hope not. I really, truly hope not. And I don't want to waste hope on anything, but in this case, I really hope not, because the brand kind of needs it. If this is how they're going to bring a lot of folks together with the 25/8 deal and with all the different promotions and the marketing and everything else, I'm hoping that they bring something to the table that is truly like the old school direct connection. Lots of education, lots of old school experience. That in and of itself would mean a ton, but the biggest thing that it would mean is it would put basically a bow and tie everything together with all the marketing. We see what you're doing with the ads. Lots of tire smoke, how to do this, how to do that in terms of what to buy. But never any direction as far as, well, what if you want to make it your own? What if you want to take it to the drag strip? What's the best wheel and tire combination? What tire pressures are you seeing? Let me tell y'all something. When it comes to drag racing, one of the first questions a lot of people ask is, what tire pressure are you running? With what tire, right? A lot of folks go underinflated. Having somebody at the dealership that says, look, if you're going to take the car to the drag strip, this is how you need to have the car set up. This tire pressure with this wheel and tire combination is ideal. Do not go below this. Going above, not going to do any good in terms of pressures. Just that simple question to be answered can make somebody have a whole lot better day. You know, guys going, well, I'm running into wheel hop. Well, chances are your tire pressure is a little bit too low. You need to raise that tire pressure up. Yeah, it's going to spin a little bit more, but guess what? You got a lot of power. You need to switch tires. And having those types of conversations, having parts in stock. I don't know about tires because I don't know how those relationships work out. But I can tell you that having all the rest of the tire, or rest of the parts in stock, maybe not the race tires, but having the expertise and telling the folks what you need to buy, what it's going to do for you, and again, educating the guys on what works and what's not going to work is so critical with this. And again, I'm more on the education side. Like to have everybody be an expert. Tide raises all ships, makes everybody a lot more competitive. But you can't get there if the guy standing behind the counter doesn't even know what direct connection is. How can you work at a Dodge dealership with all the history, the richness of the history that is the Dodge brand, and not have ever heard of direct connection, much less know what it means, know the background, know what the last 33 minutes and 29 seconds I've been talking about. To know any of that, you wouldn't have any, but just to even know, oh yeah, direct connection, that was the old performance division. Yeah, we're bringing that back in some way. Lots of folks haven't been told about it, which means the initiative isn't being pushed. And again, I think I'm being a little bit overexcited about it, maybe, but to me it means a lot. And I'm hoping that it means some percentage of what it means to me to other folks. Let me catch up with you guys real quick. Let's see. Should saying, damn direct connection, hire B Mason ASAP. Imagine a direct connection booth in every Dodge dealer. That'd be pretty cool. Chuck saying, my Dodge salesman gave me all the wrong specs on my RT shaker. They should train the staff better to know the trims. Indeed. Riff saying, hey B, what's up, Riff? Chuck saying, hi all, what's up? Riff saying, thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up. Sovereign saying, sup B? Sovereign Knight, yes. Got the flex. Bald guy with the shades. Hold on, let me do that for you real quick. Time out. Let me get that. Yeah. I like it. Oop, my chair just freaked out. All right. Tom saying, just joined. Hello, all from SoCal. Like it. 21 Challenger Scat Pack wide body. Very nice. Fun car. Pretty car, too. We're saying hello, Sovereign. Saying, at Tom, welcome. I like it. Everybody welcome Tom into the show. Tom's going good. Thank y'all. So we're saying honk if you love Mopar. And again, Rip, thank you, buddy. So we're saying I've been on that 25.8. I have a slim chance in Hades to win a 392 Challenger, but I got to try. I like it. Hey, can't win it if you're not in it, baby. And again, Chuck, thank you very much, buddy. Car Wash Power Brake saying bought many a parts for my 446 barrel Road Runner from Direct Connection. 509 purple cam. Good cam, by the way. Yep, I'm old. No, I get it. Sorry, saying I need an upgrade from old ES350. Nothing wrong with the ES350. Those are fun. Siren saying, hell yeah, Dodge F to dub. Cody's asking, thoughts on BPV adapter? Don't really have any. Tom saying, emissions legal mods that won't void warranty on my 21 Chally Scat Pack here in California. Hopefully Mopar will have stage kits for the 392. Scat Packs soon that are legal and not void warranty. So that's one of the things that I've been asking the most is, what about the NA guys? We're already starting out with the red eye. That's the first package that was announced. In fact, we've even seen part numbers on that. The issue that I have with that is that under what I've seen so far, with the only things being for the red eye things, I mean, are the pre-stage, stage 1 and stage 2 kits. I haven't seen anything for the NA guys, and that's really one of the bigger drivers for this. The NA cars are out there in a lot more frequency than the Hellcats are. Hellcat variants could be Hellcat, wide body, could be anything. Red Eye, Demon. The thing is they're starting off with kind of some low-hanging fruit, which is understandable. I mean, it's a real easy thing to drag an extra 40, 50, 80 horsepower out of a Hellcat variant or Red Eye variant. Same thing. So when I'm looking ahead in my crystal ball, I can see more packages for the forced induction cars initially. But at some point, there's got to be a switch. I mean, you can't tell me that somebody hasn't been able to figure out how to put a 327 gear in a ZF pumpkin. Like, what? The 331 or a 327 gear would be amazing for a 392 car or a 5.7 car, 345 car. Just do it. It's easy. You call up and you go, hey guys, let's make a 331. Okay, that's it. It's not that hard to do. So I'm hoping for parts like that. I'm hoping for a deeper involvement. And what I'm really hoping for is a deeper understanding of what the guys need out there in the world. Have the rear end installed at the dealership. It literally takes an hour and a half to do. If you've got a couple of guys working on it, you're going to be paying 3 hours labor on this. It's actually faster than that if you've got a lift. So I mean, and I know that because me and Mean Cat did it. In fact, Mean Cat did most of the work. I just kind of handed him tools and made sure everything was, I don't know, clean. So, I guess what I'm getting at is packages for the blower cars are great. But that cannot be the core of what direct connection stands for. And I want to see a lot of neat things come from direct connection. Cam packages, tune packages, suspension packages, exhaust packages, whatever the case is. To be able to order that along with your car, have the dealer install those parts. That's awesome. Not to mention the dealer can use it as a complete and total gift in terms of marketing and market status. The ultimate flex as a Dodge dealership is to be a power broker. It's in the name, power broker. It sounds cool. I mean, it sounds like it should come with its own uniform. So, yeah, the NA guys have got to get some love out of this. Sovereign saying aftermarket is flooded with questionable quality parts. Yeah, well, you know, we've done a lot of testing on this channel with a lot of those parts, and there are very few that I have found that I could actually sign off on. And I mean, they're on my car. The TBA machine idler pulleys, because the factory pulleys look like they were dredged out of the lake. And, well, the JLT cold air kit. That's it. That thing's so worth it just for the sound. So I'm saying, if that part has an M on it, that's what it's all about, for sure. And Tom's saying, imagine the wealth of information from powertrain engineers at Dodge. And that is probably the most... So the education that could be waterfalled from those guys through proper training with the right understanding of the why behind the how would be an amazing breakthrough for a lot of guys, because you have been lied to, or at least misdirected or misled. AC's working good. By so much of the aftermarket. A lot of what I've done is I've done a ton of testing, dyno testing, drag testing, which is something that I am desperately wanting to get back into, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. Get back to the quarter mile. But the main thing is, well, we need that trickle down of knowledge. And again, that's one of the big things that you would get with direct connection back in the day. It's, again, the blueprint that Ford used when they would help to teach guys, look, this is why we offer some parts, why we don't offer other parts. This is what we found. And you would get into this. And when I was early, and I mean super early in my career of understanding electronics tuning and just tuning in general, not that I'm an expert, but I know my way around a keyboard a little bit. But one of the biggest things that I would do along the way was parts testing. You know, we would test exhaust systems, we would test intake systems, all kinds of stuff for Ford applications, Fox body primarily, but some mod motor stuff. But here's the thing, you would get into this and it'd be like, okay, well, make sure you're testing. It would explain to you not only why the conventional thinking is not exactly accurate in terms of, like, say, a cold air kit, but the how to do the testing, to understand how the numbers can be manipulated. They would even go so far as to kind of explain some of that. And if you blinked, you wouldn't pick up on it. You would have to be reading and understanding and becoming kind of engrossed with what you were going through. You would have to be educating yourself on this. But the guys behind the counter would understand it. And again, some of those guys were old school Mopar guys, also Ford guys, car guys, just racing guys. But that's what direct connection would fill you in on. It's like, look, yes, we don't sell those types of parts because they don't work. I know you've been told that they work. Here's why they don't work. Here's what does work. All of that needs to be brought into kind of the entire gumbo that makes up what direct connection was and can be provided that they're going to put something together like this. Again, I can only go by what they've said in the press releases or whatever you want to call them, but they were talking about seminars and hotlines and all this other stuff. Tells me that this is the direction that Direct Connection is going in. Ken saying, B. Mason, you should be the winner of the Mr. Donut contest. Write me in. I'd love to do that. Siren saying, if only the Dodge brothers could be alive to see what has been accomplished, they would be smiling from ear to ear. Absolutely, they would. Oh, Tom's saying the Hellcats have an OE stage 1 and 2 in development. And stage 3 coming. They actually have, it's the Red Eye, and it's the pre-stage, the stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 3 is under development as we speak. And yeah, they really do need to have stage kits for the 392. Tom's talking about doing the Hellion twin turbo kit, but kiss your warranty goodbye. Yep. Don't forget, you need an HP 90 conversion as well. Reno saying, because people are dumber than ever. Cheers to that. Sovereign's saying they need diehard Mopar enthusiasts behind the counter. Yeah, they do. Sovereign's laughing. Chuck saying, smash that like button. Riff saying, it almost seems like they announced Direct Connection to create buzz, but did not implement it into every dealership or people who work at them really knowing about it. Yeah. It's tough to get information, man. And that's the hardest part about this is this should be an enthusiastic information dump. This should be something that is, how do I put this? People should be crawling all over each other to try to get this information out there. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is going to be so cool. Check this out. You got a 392 car. This is what we got, but it's not coming for a little bit. But you got a Hellcat. You got a Red Eye. We got that something for you. And it's going to be this stage kit, that stage kit, your pre-stage kit. This is what the cost is going to be. Listen, it's going to be really cool. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit roushy, but here's the thing. It's going to be safe. It's going to be fast. And it's not going to kill your warranty. How about that? Yay. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Just didn't happen in that way. 330 Chris is in saying, yes, when I worked at a race shop way back when we had the super stock record and we sold Direct Connection parts, then it went to Mopar Performance. Would be nice to see it come back. Absolutely. I agree. 330 saying, anyway, hey, Big B, what's up, 330? Oh, Tom's on his car. He's got the MagnaFlow X-Mod exhaust systems. Good sounding exhaust. Let's see. Says he likes it. Little seat of the pants feel. I like that too. The operating system in the 19 and up cars is really good. Nice and punchy. A little bit of a difference with the cam timing. Not too much, but they do run good. Mr. Blacktop's in saying, hey, B, happy holidays to you. I was at a BMW dealership recently and I found out they are using the ZF transmission in the 3 Series with the in package. What kind of opportunities does that open up? So that if it's the one you're talking about, that's the same transmission. It's the HP 35, which HP 35, which is in the Supra, the Z4, and a few others, I believe. Basically, it's a lower rated version of the HP 70, however, which is a lower rated version of the HP 90. You can see how that family kind of ties together. Thing is that transmission is a lot like the HP 90 in that apparently it's pretty underrated. HP 70 rated at 700 Newton meters, or I don't know, the way the crow flies, about 500 and a quarter, I think it was, pound-feet of torque. That's pretty legit. where we would see those things start to slip at about 535 rear wheel horsepower, basically around 535 foot-pounds of torque. I know that the super guys, they're not doing rebuilds or upgrades on that transmission, and they're dragging a lot of power out of those things. So pretty good unit. The HP transmissions are used in a lot of cars. Oh, Sovereign's touching base with Tom about Racer X's. Yep. Red Dog saying direct connection will be dead on arrival. Dodge is looking past the combustion engine. The marketing department is driving this, and operations cannot get up to speed before the EVs. Man, you maybe, because before I wouldn't have maybe felt that way, but notice I said felt instead of thought. But the more I'm looking into it, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, the excitement, the vibe just doesn't seem to be felt. At least I'm not feeling it. Oh, Tom's saying he's going to add the OE Hellcat lower. Remove the plug behind the driver's side inboard headlamp. You're going to need to if you're going to go with that Hellcat airbox. It won't do you much good without it. And use the tube. So don't worry about ram air. There's not really a ram air effect. What it is you're mixing in cold air to the available air that's there. So not really a ram air, but it is introducing colder air into that air box through the tube. It also lowers the pressure drop. I should say helps to mitigate the pressure drop through that tube. That's the whole reason why they did that for the Hellcat. Tom saying if money were no object, he'd go with the Elephant. With a 9-inch, the 4-link out back. Probably wouldn't go with the 4-link. I've seen guys break those. But you can stick with the stock stuff for the rear. You'd be fine. Just don't go into doing too many mods to that Elephant engine, because that aluminum block has a nasty habit of moving around once you start really putting the squeeze to it. ZF. Oh, Mr. Black, yeah, I meant the ZF. I think I said HP. I'm saying HP 90 just as the HP series through ZF. Sovereign's asking, I think the Turbo Straight 6 will become a reality, or will it be totally skipped for electric? They're looking at it pretty seriously. But initially they were looking at it for the trucks, and I was super stoked about that. I could not contain my excitement. I thought that would be amazing. HP 70, 6-cylinder, turbo, HP 90 swap, 6-cylinder, lots of turbo, hit it with some giggle gas. I was thinking I could make something really fun with that 6-cylinder. But we'll see. There's a lot of talk about it. It's basically picked up a little bit of steam over the last, I don't know, a few months, but I don't know. We'll just have to see where that lands. I don't know. If it does, though, can we get some direct connection love for that thing? Oh, Tom's talking about sniping after Hellcat. So Tom's kind of new. So when I had Shalandra, which was the SRT, I used to go sniping after Hellcats. And if you catch a Hellcat owner that knows what they're doing, it's going to be a tough hunt. I never found a Hellcat owner that knew what they were up to on the street. Certainly didn't know what I was packing. So yeah, Shalandra was nasty. Shift is asking, does the white SRT oil filter have better oil flow / pressure at idle than the black oil filter? Mopars don't like low RPMs, I heard. So the SRT filter is the only filter that I use for pretty much the entire fleet except the Jeep, which gets the M1102 filter. Everything else gets the SRT filter. So that being said, and I say everything else now that I'm thinking about it, I only got 2 left. The pressure is good with that filter and pretty much all the other filters. What I have found is that, let me give you an example. I know that my 392, which was a 2016, had fairly low oil pressure at idle once it warmed up. It would be somewhere in the neighborhood of around 28 PSI, maybe 31, 32 PSI. My fleet truck is completely different. And this is what I'm hoping is the case. And I'm still trying to get verification on this. Check your oil pressure. And I mean, especially if the car or truck or whatever you're working on is warmed up, go drive it around for a little bit and get some heat in the thing, get it to operating temperature, and then go through your vehicle info page, check your oil pressure. What I've found is that the newer truck that I have has higher oil pressure, and it's exactly the same as my Hellcat at idle, which is about 45, 46, 44 PSI, right around in there. My first Dodge Ram truck, my sport package, that truck, I want to say, had lower oil pressure also, and it ended up wiping out a cam, but not all of the car/trucks have an issue with that. But mine ended up having that problem. But my latest fleet truck has got 140,000 miles on it. The truck runs like it's brand new. We've got some trucks in the fleet with over 250,000 miles on them with absolutely no issues whatsoever. That being said, those trucks are driven quite a bit, but not all of them. We've got some that just sit there and idle at job sites all day. And it was said back at some point that, they don't like, idling for any real length of time. That could have been the case with the older oil pump. The thing is, you can swap in a Hellcat oil pump, and it's which is just a higher volume oil pump. It's not a higher pressure, it's a higher volume oil pump. They all cap out at the same pressure, but it's the higher volume that matters. It's all it is the bypass spring opens up, or bypass valve opens up, same basic spring. So when you think of it that way, like I say, we haven't had any issues with the trucks, but these are all 17 and up trucks. I'm telling you, I don't know if it's a fleet truck thing or if it's what, but if you've got good oil pressure at idle, once it's warmed up, and let's say it's 42 PSI, somewhere in the 40s, I've got to think that you're in really good shape. Now, I will say that with my other truck, I was using the SRT filter. I would use Mobil 1 filters, or I would use Bosch filters. Every once in a while, I'd use a Wix, but I was changing the oil fairly regularly. But you've got to change the oil regularly in these trucks either way. So again, just something to think about. Make sure you are getting that oil changed no more than 6,000 miles. I don't care what the bottle says. 6,000 miles, you get the oil changed. Make sure that you are within your window at all times. It's really more about hours than it is anything else. Tom's talking about the Hellcat airbox lower half versus the Scat Pack airbox non-shaker non-TA, which is a closed top. Notice the Hellcat lower airbox has significantly more volume. Maybe. Let's see. Oh, Tom's saying he only uses the SRT filter. Yeah, like I say, it's if you're changing the oil, changing the filter every time, and you're paying close attention to what you're working with, you'll be in pretty good shape. I've never run into an issue with the SRT filter. That's really all I use for any of the Hemi applications that I've had. I mean, I usually keep like 3 or 4. In fact, I need to go by the dealership tomorrow and get some more because I usually keep 2 or 3 at least in stock over here. Oh, ship state is 2016 M6 392. Yep, 30 to 33 when he's warmed up. And that's one of the things too. What I've noticed, the 392s always had fairly high oil temperatures, especially if you're running a stock thermostat with them. Let's see. Tom's saying normal service duty 6,000 or 6 months, whichever comes first. Yeah, and the manual too. I think it says that even in this one, do not go above 6,000 under any circumstance. But that's mainly for the higher performance stuff. But it would apply to 6.4s. I apply it to everything. I make sure I've got fresh oil in that thing at all times. Chuck, thank you very much. Very good, saying thank you for the tire recommendations on the RT Shaker. I gained 0.3 in the quarter at 108. Very nice. I like that. That's good to hear. Speaking of RT Shakers, there's one of them that's floating around here. It's a Destroyer Gray. That thing sounds good. I've never seen it. I don't think he ever takes it to the drag strip. It's a guy that cruises around. It's an older guy that has it, but he's definitely put in a lot of work, at least in terms of doing his research for the exhaust that he's got on that car, because I'm not sure that there is a better sounding car running around here than that Shaker. It sounds good. I mean, real good. But thank you again, brother. I appreciate that. And again, for you guys, I know I get a little bit excited because I am easily excitable. You haven't noticed. But that's what happens when you get passionate about something, when you really get worked up about something, when you really feel when these types of announcements come out. It's something that just hits you at your core. This is an amazing thing. This is going to be so cool. This ties in all the marketing with all the legend status and with all the, the old school look of the car and with everything, the names and the scat packages and all of this and that. This ties everything together. They're bringing back direct connection. This is going to be awesome. Again, I'm not trying to overhype this, and I'm not doing any of this for effect. This is legit how I feel about this, enough so to where I've gone to several of the dealerships just asking questions. I'm heading somewhere. Hey, there's a Dodge dealership. Let me, dock into here real quick and say, hey, what are you guys hearing? What are you guys learning about? Is this a thing? Are you guys going to be power brokers? You even have a list of power brokers. No. It's not like a kid when I walk in there. But that's the way that I feel about this. I mean, it makes me feel like a kid again. If they're going to have this type of a program out there, to be able to have some folks that you can stand across the counter and talk to and get some ideas from and get a better understanding. And man, the main thing again is the education. I'm such a big driver of the education for the guys to come into this because we haven't had this. And by the way, you might say, yeah, well, you can just look this up, or you can just Google it, or you can Bing it, or whatever the case is. One of the reasons why I started doing this channel, or started doing the product reviews on this channel, I should say, is because I would see so much false information out there on the webs, right? And I would hear a lot of what the manufacturers were claiming and what they would say to somebody if you were to call them. I would hear that basically being parroted back to me. Like, well, I'll give you an example. This is for the NA stuff. And I'm not going to mention the aftermarket cold air manufacturer's name. But it went something like this. I had somebody that was very brand loyal to this manufacturer saying, if you put one of these on your car, you're going to pick up. I guarantee it. My car picked up 22 horsepower to the rear wheels. Okay, so at that time, I was putting in about 14 hours a day at a performance shop. I was the guy that would basically validate your car as being healthy. So I did the initial data log. I was the first person to drive your car, and I would be the last person to drive your car. If it were an NA combination, Alex would do the tuning, especially with the trans tune. He would drive the car, and then I would drive the car. I'd give him feedback. He'd let me know what his feedback was. And, you know, he had a more aggressive driving style, whereas I would drive the car a little bit softer. And you kind of get a good blending of different ideas for the street feel of a car with transmission tuning. Anyway, long story short, I had, about the time this thing had come up, I had dynoed maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 dozen 392 cars in general, just in different states of tune, different parts on the car, etc. So when this came out, or when this information came to me that this was going to be the real result, I was like, no, there's no way. And so I not only, well, in fact, I didn't even bother dyno testing it after I took it to the drag strip, and the car ran more or less an identical number. What the guy didn't know is that I spend every Friday night of my life at the drag strip. If the drag strip is open, you can pretty much take it to the bank that I'm going to be there. More than likely, I'll have my car. I may be data logging other people's cars. I may be helping them with setups. I could be doing anything. But the chances of me being at the drag strip are practically 98%. And so when I had informed this person that their magical tchotchke didn't quite perform as well as it should have, it was funny because the person was actually offended. I've never seen anybody get offended over science. Like, I did the switch and it didn't go any faster. Ipso facto, you're full of crap. Anyway, I thought it was actually kind of comical. And so then I started testing other products. And anyway, long story short, turned into a little bit of a business of me testing different products on the dyno. And I'd just be like, none of this stuff works. None of it's, that sounded good. It is a really pretty night down here by Velocito, and don't be surprised if you hear a little bit more of that as the show goes on. There's going to be some folks testing out new kit. I can promise you that, at least from what I've seen driving around out here. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why I like the idea of direct connection, be able to talk to somebody and say, look, this works, but only in conjunction with all of these A, B, and C parts that you're going to have to get. Here's the tuning parameters. If you want to get into this, you really need to start learning how to data log your car. You need to be an active participant in this. And that's the other thing. Direct connection, Ford Racing Performance Parts, it didn't matter. They expected you to be a direct participant in this endeavor. It wasn't take my monies and then they did the thing that the monies does to your car, and then you get your car back and you just, no, I mean, they would encourage you. They wanted you to take this car to the drag strip. They wanted you to become a better driver. They would give driving tips. They would give staging tips, how to do this or that. If you had a question like, hey man, listen. And one of my favorite things was there was a guy that he was an older guy, and he had a lot of experience with all different marques. The BOP, which is Buick, Oldsmobile, Pontiac. He knew about Mopars, pretty much everything. And the guy, for the younger guys, would go, look, have you ever been to the drag strip? Do you even know where a local drag strip that you could go to is? Have you ever even thought about going to the drag strip? He would tell the guys, look, you need to get good at with the car the way that it is now. I'm not going to sell you performance parts if you don't know how to drive the thing. He would actually kind of quiz them a little bit. What do you do with the car? Have you ever been to a drag strip? You ever thought about going to the drag strip? Why haven't you gone to the drag strip? What are your goals? What are you planning on getting out of this thing? What are you going to do with this thing? You just going to make noise? You just want to do smoky burnouts? What's the deal? Going to do donuts? What's the idea here? That was kind of the mentality. These were guys that it was a foregone conclusion that you were going racing. Where are you going racing? You like doing street racing? Where have you ever been to a street race? Do you even know what it's like to be in a street race? I mean, not the 1, 2, 3 go type thing. We're talking old school from a dig street races, which at one point was a real thing in and around, especially Houston. So, and the surrounding suburbs. That was the neat part about Direct Connection, because you would see these guys at all of those venues. Believe that. I mean, if you're into sprint cars or late models or whatever, there was a guy floating around there somewhere that had some level of experience with it. It'd be like, yeah, no, you definitely don't want to go with this cam. If you're into that kind of stuff, you need this. Or if you want, there was always a level of expertise. And you just don't see any level of expertise anymore, and for good reason too. So well, this is going around my ass to get to my elbow. But the problem with car guys today, and I did the air quotes there because a lot of guys are Google racers. They've never actually been racing, but they know how to Google something. And well, what about this? What does that run? What's the record? What's this? What? The thing is that there are other things for them to do with their time than take their car to the drag strip. But they still want to get the parts and they still want to get the work done to their car. But their only understanding and their only experience with any kind of racing has been with Forza or some other car game. The gas pedal is a light switch. And, you know, the whole finesse of the car thing for a lot of these guys is really not something that they've ever done before. A lot of these guys aren't like a lot of us who have grown up with parents or grandparents. You might have an aunt or a sister that's like, no, this is how you do it. And then, you know, you end up doing a whole bunch of sketchy things on oil field roads when you're 11 and 12 years old. So I guess where I'm going with this is, it's that level of experience, but it's that level of old school understanding that you're just not seeing with guys today. And to have somebody that can explain and educate to the newest guys, and it's not just young guys, it's new to Mopar, it's new to performance car. It might be some folks that like they didn't get a chance to get into this stuff when they were younger. They had responsibilities. They had things that they had to do. Life just didn't allow for it until now. Educate those guys. These guys are sponges just waiting to soak this information up. But they've got to have the direct connection to the information, which is again where direct connection comes from. So, and what you would hope that direct connection can give you. Boosted Hemmings in with Flex, I like it. Saying, hey, Mason, what's up? Rift is asking, do you think the 6.1 is a more mod-friendly engine than the 6.4 when it comes to NA motors? It is a more mod-familiar engine than the 6.4 is. It's not any more mod-friendly, although the camshaft has a little bit tighter LSA. It takes to long tube headers a little bit better. It's got more of a traditional power curve because it's a fixed intake manifold. There are some things that I like about the 6.1 over the 6.4 and the later 5.7, in that the cylinder heads are an appropriate size for the displacement. And what I mean by that is you can get away with more cam with a 6.1. A perfect example of that. Let's say you've got you're wanting to put a cam in a 6.1. Where do you go from here? Well, where I would stop at 220 to 230-ish size with like a 113 LSA for a 6.4. I just tell you, don't go much further than that. You really don't need to, because the car is going to get a little bit too choppy down low. There's just not enough velocity going through the heads. The 6.1, I would say you could probably get away with a little bit more than that because the heads don't flow as much. They have a high velocity to them versus the crazy flow that you get out of the later model heads. So to give you an idea, Eagle heads, later model heads, flow about 330-ish CFM. The Apache heads, the earlier heads, are about 250, 260 CFM, give or take. And what that difference does is, yes, it's a bit of a limiting factor as far as how much power you can get out of it, but you can throw more cam at it and the car responds a little bit less lazily with that setup than the 6.4 does. That being said, 6.4 is going to make more power. It's just the way that it is. But that's not to say that the 6.1 is bad. I like the 6.1, and that is a lot more, it's a lot more user-friendly in one respect. And that is, if you're doing any tuning, it's just fuel and timing. You don't have to worry about SRV actuation, which is really only one value. But you're not worried about cam phasing, cam timing, anything like that. Not that you would with an aftermarket cam for a 6.4 either. But if you have everything in play, the 6.1 is basically the Mopar LS. You make a lot of power with them, but just remember that you're also powering a platform that is heavy. So don't go crazy with cam because you're going to need a lot of converter to get the thing going. Gary, thank you very much. Saying Merry Christmas, B. Got the flex. Man, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate that. Very generous of you, buddy. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you too. Man, thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, Chuck, thank you very much too, brother. Saying, hey, B, I noticed my RT shaker that it hooks up better when traction is in normal mode. Yes, it will. It's a little bit more aggressive with the torque management. Everything else set on sport. Spinning isn't winning. That's true. Yeah, a lot of guys will run the street or normal setup on the street for traction control. But thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you all so much. Let's see. Oh, Riff saying is 6.1 handled a lot before he ended up building it with more boost with a Pro Charger. Yeah, I mean, here's the good thing about the 6.1, really all of the Hemis, 6.1 and then all of the Eagle Hemis, they can handle a lot more abuse than a lot of guys give them credit for. And one of the things that you got to remember is that these are stock manufactured engines that have to conform to a lot of, they got to conform to a lot of rules. And when you start to look at what's going to get them to that conformity to the rules, it's all based around emissions and, ring gap and things like that. You always hear about ring gap being really tight with those Hemis. With the 6.4, for example, and it is, but the reality is that if you were to take that engine apart, open up the ring gap to 28 thousandths, 29 thousandths, even if you just did that to the second ring, 25 to the top ring, you'd be able to run whatever you wanted to run with it. I mean, that's the thing. It's all based around ring land depth, rings, ring gap, everything. It's all real important. They will handle some abuse though, for sure. Tom saying, all things considered, I got to give Dodge a shout out on my 21 Challenger. Saying only 2,400 miles in the first 6 months. Averaging 23, 24 on the highway. Absolutely. Tom saying, already subscribed, just smash the like button and set the bell to get notes. I like it. Got to run. Working on the Harley. Nice. Thanks for checking in, Tom. Appreciate you, buddy. That'll be a fun car for you for a long time, too. Chuck saying, we're here every week, bro, for sure. And congrats again. Thank you again, Gary. I appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate the support, man. Oh, Cody saying, I feel the 6.4 is the answer to the Gen 1 Coyote since both do better NA than boosted. Well, I mean, the thing is that this is what sucks, man. The 6.4 had a bad reputation because you had some tunes that were floating around out there for the 6.4 with boost that were somewhat questionable. Thing is, they are limited. And they're not just limited by ring gap. They're limited by fuel quality. And what I mean by that is what folks don't remember, or it's easy to overlook, is that you can't have high compression, high boost, and high inertial load all working together at the same time to create a situation where you're going to have some crazy hot combustion chamber temperatures and potentially some pinging. And what I'm getting at here is the car's heavy. Weight is load. Weight, the way you can think about it in a way, the load, the extra inertial load is equivalent to increasing timing, which is to say that your piston speed coming up versus your time under peak pressure and then coming down, which is actually already on the way down, usually around 12-ish degrees after top dead center. Anyway, long story short, you are passing that threshold at high pressure slower than if the car weighed less. So what would happen is you would get guys put the car on a dyno, not loaded dyno, and you'd be turning up the timing and the thing keeps making power and you make power until the thing doesn't make power anymore. And then you go, okay, take a couple of degrees of timing out and you send it on its way. That trick works when the car weighs 3,500 pounds, not when it's 4,500 pounds. And so what would happen is everything else being equal, the 93 octane just couldn't handle the extra load. Now, if you were to take that same tune and run 100 octane, probably be okay. But the reality is that when it comes to Mopar, and that's why I always say, guys, you've got to talk to somebody. If you're talking about getting your car tuned, especially if you're getting it supercharger, whatever, put on the thing, you've got to talk to somebody who speaks fluent Mopar. They understand the weight, the fact that there is aerodynamic as a barge, the fact that they have got lots of cubic inches, lots of blower, lots of compression ratio. It's trying to make a lot of power. The heads are crazy volumetrically efficient, but they're just not very effective thermodynamically, where a wedge head is very effective thermodynamically. So you've got all of this happening. You've got to have somebody that understands how that works, and you've got to pull the timing back a little bit. But you're rewarded with a car that is crazy stable at high speeds. We got to remember the platform that you're driving was originally designed by Mercedes-Benz, and it was designed to basically cruise at 150 miles an hour indefinitely on the Autobahn. Oh, dang. Hang on a second. Roy, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate that. Saying Merry Christmas, B-Man. Roy, thank you, buddy. Merry Christmas to you too. Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. I really do a ton. Wow, thank y'all. Very cool. Thank you all for the support. I appreciate that. Thanks a million, guys. Summer saying, hey, thumbs up. Again, Chuck, thank you, buddy. Summer saying, let the 392 work its voodoo on you. You know, and I'll say this, guys. You know, one of the barriers for a lot of 392 guys when it comes to performance in general is there's a natural comparison for the 392 cars to Coyote. And you guys know I've said this a lot, and this is what I try to help instill into guys to have a better understanding of what it is that you're driving. From a roll, the Mustang is lighter, can rev out like crazy, has got gearing on its side, especially going into fifth gear. Fifth gear in the 10-speed is more aggressive than the fifth gear for the HP 70 in this case. More aerodynamic, lots of et cetera going on there. I guess the point that I'm making here is the Mustang Coyote platform, 355 gear, whatever, tire for tire, stock for stock, wants absolutely nothing to do with a Mopar, especially in the 8th mile from a dig. I will tell you guys this. I only lost, and y'all have heard me say this a ton of times, I only lost one time with Shalandra. I only lost once to a naturally aspirated Mustang that was running on 93 octane. And I freaking practically gave the guy the leave. For every other combination that's out there, whether you put a cam in the 392 or you've got some kind of crazy E85 tune going on with the Mustang with full bolt-ons and everything else, a lot of that stuff gets kind of scattered up in the tornado of my mod as bigger than your mod, which is big. You can kind of see where that goes. But for the vast majority of guys that are out there that are only going to be running on a tire, like say drag radials on the street, or maybe you like to roll drag pack on the street, whatever the case is, you are not coming into a conflict unarmed with a 392. You just need to be able to pick your race. You know, a roll race, probably not the best idea with a car that can rev to 7,500 RPM. But from a dig, dude, you got to remember, with just hardly any race prep, a 19 and up Challenger on a drag pack will go mid-11s. And we know this because we did this last year with the Shaker. So, yeah. In fact, that's the car that Racer X went 1157, and then I got in the car and I went 1157 in the same car. So, you know, interesting the way that played out. But yeah, again, this is 93 octane, just a passenger seat delete and a drag pack. That's it. I mean, no real race prep. In fact, it's about the same thing that you would do if you're planning on a long trip to the drag strip. So there's that. Catalyst is in, saying, I just tuned in. I admit I really have no idea what direct connection is. Check out the beginning. When you get a chance, check out the first part. And I go into a little bit of detail about what it is, or at least what it was back in the day, why it's so relevant, why I'm so excited about it, or at least excited about the thought of it. You know, it's one of those things. You know, you ever meet somebody that is just in love with the idea of being in love? That's kind of where I am with direct connection. I'm just in love with the idea that they're bringing something back. Probably got my hopes set, or at least my expectations set way too high. But there's a possibility. There's a possibility that they could get it right. There's a possibility that it could be totally awesome and would go a long way as far as really being a situation where through education and understanding and face-to-face contact, you know, that real just visceral, tactile type of interaction, not that you'd be all touchy-feely, you get what I'm saying, like just a real interchange between somebody that's been there before and somebody that's new to the game or new to the brand, to get them up and running with a package or a combination that is going to be a lot of fun for them, that they can play with, take to the drag strip, do whatever they want to do with it, but something that is going to be just as much of an education as it is a performance enhancer. Like, it's gonna, you get educated, but you don't even know you're being educated, because I mean, yeah, you're learning, but it's an immediate practical application. Like, it's, you learn a little bit, then you apply it. And then you learn a little bit more, and then you apply it. Or you learn a little bit, you apply it, and then you get good at it. You practice with it. You guys know, I always say this, you got to play with your cars. You got to take them out. You got to have fun with it. Not advocating doing anything illegal, but you get what I'm saying. You got to get good with the car. The driver mod is the absolute most important mod you can do to your car. Get good with it. Get familiar with it, and be confident with your skill set with that platform. And again, Roy, thank you again, brother. I appreciate that. Cal's is asking, so is the goal of direct connection similar to what Lebanon Ford is doing with their Mustangs? Probably. So the idea is an education process, just like what direct connection had before, where you had there's a lot of guys going out tonight, where you had basically it was a direct connection to the knowledge that guys had from racing. Like, it would be, for example, it would be you coming to the power broker and walking up and seeing me standing behind the counter and you go, man, listen, need to get more out of this car at the drag strip. These pesky Mustangs and Camaros, they're giving me a fit. What works? And then I start going through, well, okay, let's take a look at these options. This is what I would suggest. This is what I know works. This is going to be a little bit too racy for the street, but some guys like it. Some guys will tolerate it. Other guys won't. What's your threshold for NVH, noise, vibration, harshness? What is is this your only car? Is this a car that you take out on the weekends? What are we talking about here? And you would have somebody that can talk to you about your car, recommend parts, and then go, okay, give the service writer your keys, come pick it up in 3-4 days. It'll be done, ready for you to go to the track, have a blast with it. That's kind of what direct connection would be. It's a lot like like down here in Houston, what Tommy Von Ford used to do with their packages. So, and for the guys that they had that were ex-direct connection guys, guys that have been racing forever. Some of the guys were in the street scene. Some of the guys were on the drag strip side. You had guys that had experience with SCCA autocross guys. That was surprisingly a huge thing down here for a while. I kind of got out of it when I had to take another job somewhere else, but it was a huge thing. SCCA autocross was massive down here. So I wouldn't mind getting back into that. Foxy would be nasty for that. So we'll see. Shift is asking, when changing plugs on a stock 392, do we need to gap them or install them as they come from the dealer? Always, 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 always check gap. That little box could have been dropped. You just never know. You always want to take the plug out, check it, check the gap. 45 is fine. Make sure that there aren't any other things going on with it, and make sure that you don't have any burrs or anything going on with the ground strap. But yeah, that's, you always want to gap them. I think factory is what, 55? I always like 45. Get a little bit crisper spark out of it at 45, but and then for the blower stuff, 26, 24, 25, right around in there. Chuck's saying I'm addicted to this channel. Well, thank you. Thank you. Sovereign's laughing. Chuck said, love the content, and I've learned a lot here. Glad to be part of this channel. Thanks, buddy. Glad you're a part of it. Oh, Cody's saying, this is some good information. Thanks for bringing up compression ratios and weight. Absolutely. Give me insight of how aggressive and or conservative I want to take my Escape. Yeah, the main thing is, it's the weight is a big thing, and it's something that you have to take into account. The way I used to explain it was like this. I'd say, look, let's say we have an engine. Let's call it 400 cubic inches. Not a big block, not a small block, tweener, right? We got a 400 cubic inch engine. It's made by Engine Company. And when Engine Company makes the Engine Company doesn't know what it's going to go into. It could go into a car, duh. Maybe it's going into a truck. Maybe it's going to be a four-wheel drive truck. It's got to turn big old wheels. Maybe it's going to go into a dually-sized truck. Something like just something really heavy, 6,000, 6,500 pounds. Maybe it's going into a boat. Who knows? That's a completely different load scenario. Each one of the situations that I mentioned are 100% doable for the same engine. But the tune is going to be different. The fuel could potentially be different, and the conditions which that engine is being run will be completely different. One of them could be it's going to be doing a lot of off-roading, and so you're going to have to lots of high temperature stuff, lots of cooling mods. Another one's going to be on a boat, so it's going to be lots of wide open throttle, lots of hanging the thing at 45 to 5,000 RPM basically all day. Those are the types of things. So each load condition has a different timing threshold that it will accommodate. That same engine might be able to handle or might be able to run just fine and would, on an engine dyno, make peak power at, say, 35 degrees of timing, 38 degrees of timing, whatever it is. Let's call it 35. But let's say in the heavier application, because of the inertial load, realistically, you have to drop that down to, instead of 35, let's call it 32. Let's say in the boat, you don't really have a lot of inertial load, but you're not running the engine at maximum RPM, maximum horsepower. It's going to fall just where the torque falls off and the horsepower would kind of cross, about 5,200 RPM. So that timing mark may be lower. There's so many different things that you're going to be doing with this engine, and none of them are the same when you're actually loading the engine at peak cylinder pressures. So that's why it's so important that you don't cookie cutter tunes for a car. Each car is going to have different atmospheric conditions, different fuel qualities that it's going to have to deal with. Now, you can always tune to the lowest common denominator, which would be sea level terrible gas. You're not going to get the best power out of it, but it's going to be a safe tune. And so that's what basically a lot of these cars, that's what they get. Uncle Stinkford's in. Saying, been a long time, dude. Still rocking my stock 392 Charger with no plans to modify ever. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, buddy. Good to see you again. Sovereign's hanging out with Catalyst. Let's see. Yeah, Sovereign's saying he thinks the 392 is perfect the way it is out of the box. They're tough to beat, guys. I mean, the 392 is a lot of fun, snappy car, lots of fun to drive. Roy's checking in with Sovereign as well. So is Catalyst. I like it. X4 is in with the flex. Yeah, I like it. Sovereign's got the rock on. I like that. And Uncle Stinkford brings up a good point. Him and Sovereign are hanging out here, saying, I've never had so much fun on the street with a car other than his. And that's really the bottom line. You know, when it comes to street driving, street fun, man, guys, look, I'm not kidding. The 392, when it comes to just freaking being a fun car to drive, it's really hard to beat. You know, a lot of guys will kind of they start to become a bit of a size queen when they start getting in with the Hellcat scene. You know, it's the bigger number is better, the bigger horsepower is better, and all of that. But what they fail to remember is that you can only use some of that power. And, you know, it's one of these, how do they call it? What's the right phrase for it? You'll hear some of them, they'll play it this way. It'll be like an apology brag. Is that a right way to say it? Like, yeah, I know, man. I mean, at 50 miles an hour, I just kind of roll into the throttle and it spins the tires, man. It's like, dude, it's not that much fun. Yeah, okay, we get it. But the fact of the matter is that a 392 on a tire, you can play with that car on the street. And y'all know the story. Ray, God rest his soul, buddy of mine. When he first got his the Frostbite 1320, never forget. He had taken that car. We met up going to the drag strip one night, and the flipping track was closed because of a concert. Neither one of us even bothered to look it up because it was a Friday. We're just going to the drag strip. So we were like, screw this. We're going to go play with the 1320. So we take the 1320 and find some spots over here in Velocito. And it was me and him in the car. So you got to remember, me and him in the car. The car was, as it was delivered, with stock air pressure in the tires, 32 PSI. The trick this night was for one of us to go a 12-1 in that car on the street in as delivered form, with both of us in the car, with the conditions being like nothing you would ever write home about. So the challenge was on. And it's one of the most fun times I ever had in a car was in that 1320. So he would make a hit, and you know, you get the time slip in the car, and we're watching it. It's like, he went 12-3, you know, and so I would get in it, and I would run a 12-2, and then he would get in it. He'd run a 12-2, and he'd run another 12-2. And then I'd get out, and I'd get in the car. I'd run a 12-3, and I'd run a 12-2. Then I'd run a 12-3. We went back and forth and back and forth. We weren't keeping track. It was just one of us had to get a 12-1 out of this car. So anyway, we did that for 2 hours straight in this thing. Basically burned up a tank of gas in the car. So it's time to wrap it up, and he took off. Anyway, he ended up running a 12-1 on the street. I think the car only had like 500 miles on it. Might have had 600 miles on it when we were doing all this. It was hysterical. But anyway, for about 2 hours, we were making hits on that car. One of the most fun times I ever had in a car. And it was a 392. And You'd have never been able to do that with a Hellcat. Even if you cover the number, it doesn't matter because it was just so much fun. Because it was for us, just get the launch just right. And I kid you not, we were running identical times in this car. Both of us real experienced drivers, but all of that went away. It was just basically two overgrown kids in this car doing this stuff. And it was just so much fun. So anyway, lots of fun on the street with that thing. Oh, Gary's saying he really loves the old school look of his 392. Love having Scat Pack, the B badge as well. Yeah, I've got one of those. I've got an old faded one. It's not really old, but it's got one of those right over there, as a matter of fact. Oh, Sovereign saying something about that look for sure. Oh, Sovereign saying he's got to give kudos to Dodge for recreating a classic. The Challenger finally got to make its impression in a big way. Very true on that. Oh, Gary likes the old Hellcat hood. Yep. Chuck's out. Say he's got to be up early. Right on, my man. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you, brother. Oh, Sovereign likes the Guac concept with the Magnum 5s. Dude, I like that look too. I really do. Sovereign's hollering out at Chuck. Chuck saying, don't forget us 345 NA guys. We're fast too. Dude, that's the car that got me into this. So for those of y'all that don't know the story about what really kind of brought me back over into Mopar. This is after the whole Vipers thing, and I got back into Lightnings at one point. And this was 2013. Yeah, 2013, I think is what it was. I had been working a lot on transmission tuning for the Lightning. And this is the old story. I literally had over 50 revisions on this tune, getting everything perfect. Torque converter, clutch, lockup, mile per hour was, absolutely perfect. Had shift scheduling was perfectly set up to work with the oval throttle body and all this other stuff. Anyway, long story short, driving by a Dodge dealership, and there was a Candy Stripe signature series. Signature Challenger. If you're not familiar with the slang or the terminology, the signature series of cars had the livery along the side of the car, and it had the RT, and it would say signature somewhere on the thing. Anyway, real pretty cars, a 20-inch car and a 20-inch wheel car. And I was like, man, that's a good looking car. And I had seen a black one, lower, different wheels. It was a really good looking car, but I'd never driven one. I was like, man, I need to go test drive one of these things and see what they're all about. And it's a Nag 1 car, by the way, 5.7 car. And so talked to a sales guy. I said, yeah, I'm interested, but I've never driven one. He's like, here, take this one and you see what you think. But it was white with the red stripes. And I was like, damn, something about the car. I like the candy stripe look. I just like the look of the thing. But when I drove the car, keep in mind that what is fresh in my head is transmission tuning. It's all about transmission tuning for me at this point. And the trans tune on that Nag 1 was really, really good. And for what, it was like, damn, this car is talking my language. Like the amount of pedal throw versus amount of downshift versus unlock, everything else was basically my tune that I had gotten through putting on this Lightning. Like, man, this thing is really good. Like somebody really did their homework with it. And so that is what got me into thinking about it again. And then as things worked out, I got my truck, and then I really liked my truck, and then I got my Challenger. So that's kind of how this whole thing played itself out. It all started with a 5.7 car, Nag 1 at that. Roy's saying it's called cockism. True that. X is saying it's so fun pulling up next to a fellow Challenger or Charger owner and stomping on the gas. Absolutely. Gary's saying his first car was a 5.7 Charger. Very nice. I like it. Cal is saying the one thing I like about the 1320 is you can lap it without worrying about blowing its guts out, for sure. Summer's saying Mopar America. Absolutely. Chuck's saying Dodge Demon equals most fun with your clothes on. He's checking out. Yeah, actually, the Demon, I will say this, in terms of cars that are just happy to be there. The Demon and the Red Eye with the 309 gear, that combination is basically what I did with Chandelier. I wanted to kind of recreate the feel of those cars. That is one of the happiest cars you will ever drive. The funny thing about the Demon and the Red Eye, there's some things that are going on in the operating system that makes them a little bit lively. Even though there's a lot of heat nannies in there that kind of rein the party in at about the 1,000-foot mark if you take it to a drag strip. On the street, they're just so lively and fun to drive that you kind of forget whatever else, whatever preconceived notions you had about the car. They're just so punchy and so much fun to drive. You kind of know where your money's been spent at that point. But yeah, those are some fun cars. Oh, Sovereign's saying the 5.7 is the absolute lowest he'd want to go. The funny thing is that, we talking about the 5.7 and direct connection, the scat packages were only for the 5.7 cars. It wasn't ever like in the cards for them to put anything together for the 392 guys, which had a lot of 392 guys kind of upset. But yeah, if you think about it, all the scat packages for the Gen 3 Hemi, all of those were for the 5.7 guys. Cody's saying the 5.7s are neutered from the factory. What's weird is that the 5.7 is unnecessarily neutered from the factory. With the 392 or the Hellcat exhaust, that's kind of the sweet spot for those cars. Uncle Stinkford's asking if I think direct connection really will provide the support like it did back in the old days. Man, look, I can only hope. They're talking about having the hotline and talking about having, the education portion of it being a big driving factor. Is it going to be there? Man, again, all I can say is I can hope. And again, I would hope that here's the thing. It's hard for me because I'm kind of in this. Like, I do and have put a lot of work into this knowledge acquisition for the Gen 3 Hemis. And admittedly, I'm not even on top of the food chain with this. But I do feel like I'm hoping that Dodge will have the guys on the other side of the counter that are fit to have the conversation with somebody to educate them in the way that maybe I would. Not to say that I'm the last word with this stuff, but man, when you've spent so much time around these things and you've got so many laps down a drag strip, and when you've done so many R&D tests, and when you've got so many dyno laps under you, know your way around HP tuners a little bit, meaning you can read and dissect the tune fairly well. You just want to hope that education and that level of knowledge is going to be coming from Dodge and waterfalling into the guys that are going to be showing up at these power brokers. We'll see. I mean, I know how I received the information when I was first getting into this. And I really was a sponge. And these guys, it wasn't just book smarts. These guys were like Well, listen, when I had this combination and I ran it at the drag strip, this is one of the things that I found that I kind of wish I would have done with it. And, they kind of walk you down that path. I'm hoping that it's going to be like that, not just, somebody just kind of regurgitates some book knowledge smart thing to somebody. And it's like, dude, I could have Googled that. I'm not here for the Google information. I'm here for the firsthand knowledge. I'm here for what's your racing experience? What have you done with these cars? What have you been able to accomplish on your end? And how can that translate into my success? That's really what I'm hoping, because that's what they did with me when I was just a little wee bald guy. And, it helped me to be able to do some of the things I was able to do with my packages. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, Cody's talking about the 5.7s. You can make them nice. Multiple Mopars is in. What is up, brother? Merry Christmas. Cody's asking, with the new inline 6, would that mean the old SRT 6 name can be coming back? That'd be pretty sick. I'd be on board with that. Cody's saying, I'd be happy they brought back the SRT 4 name. Hopefully it's going to be attached to something we're calling SRT 4. So they still be missing that V8 sound. Yeah, I know, but listen, there's still a lot of them running around. Oh, Uncle Steve was saying, I asked the question because he's hanging out with some old school Mopar guys and they're very skeptical. I would say that at this stage of the game, I would share their skepticism, and they're right to be skeptical as well. Well, guys, we are coming up on 2 hours. I got to wrap it up because I got to wake up with the Amish tomorrow. But listen, guys, thank y'all from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate all the love and support. Would not do this without you guys. Love each and every one of y'all. Merry Christmas. Try to catch up with you guys on Saturday, maybe. But with that, if you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep her shiny side up. Do something cool for somebody. And with that, that is a wrap. Y'all have a great one. Catch y'all on the next one. Thank you all again, guys. I really appreciate it. And we will catch you maybe on Saturday. That's a wrap. Adios.